The movie starts with a girl named C, listening to music. She's writing something in her diary, in an advanced alien language. The movie is set in the far future and C is currently somewhere out in the galaxy, living on a space station, which is orbiting a Jupiter-like planet. Accompanying her, is her father Damon. Damon is preparing them for their next departure. He orders C to help him, and clean a weapon called the thrower. She does so. After preparing, they go get some hours of sleep. After waking up, they ready up to leave the station and land on a moon called the Green Moon. Damon says to her they'll be away for 3 cycles. 1 cycle meaning 1 full orbit around a planet. C sets her cycle timer to 3. Damon powers up their pod, and they eject from the station. A beautiful shot of the station is shown. Moments later, there was a malfunction with their pod. They start accelerating and enter the Green Moon's atmosphere. Fortunately, as they enter the troposphere, parachutes unfold and Damon was able to manually land the pod safely, and no one got hurt. Damon shuts the pod down and gives C the key. He also gives her a task of finding where they landed. They were supposed to land at the marked location indicated with red letters, but no worries because they landed a few ticks away from their intended spot. They suit up and set foot on the moon. Damon tells her to calibrate her frequency to his, so they can speak clearly. Damon then enables C's filter. They head into the foreign forest, and they journey towards the original landing place. On their way, they stumble upon an old dig site. Which is why they're actually here. To mine valuable gems named Aurilax. Damon says that this dig site is left over from the rush. The rush, meaning that a lot of people came looking for these gems, just like the gold rush that once occurred in the US. He also says that not a lot were educated on how to look, or mine the gems. He decides to get a look and he finds an unmined gem. We quickly learn that these are not typical gems or rare ores found in stone, but are gems grown inside an alien's well-being and are very tough to garner. We see that Damon is a professional at cutting and dissecting the alien creature plant. He tutors C on how to remove the blister, which is very difficult and if not done correctly, it releases an acid that melts the gem inside, leaving it to be worthless. Then he uses a fluid to remove the last bits of the plant. And there it is, the Aurilac gem. He says that this piece is worth over 10,000 in their currency, which is a lot. Then, Damon says to her why they came back here, after the gems were dried out during the rush. He made a deal with mercs that found the site of the rumored Queen's Lair. That there are gems 5 times the size of the one C's currently holding, and are worth millions. They again start walking towards to the now learned Queen's Lair. C heads to refill their water, and while returning back, her father warns her that he was ambushed. C quietly approaches, and sees her father being interrogated by a man named Ezra. The 2 ambushers come straight forward to what they need. They were stranded on this moon for several years because they lost their ship. So they desperately want Damon to tell them how he got here, and give them his vehicle. Ezra pulls out a gun, and before he decides whether or not to shoot Damon, Damon says he has a counter-offer. He tells him about the Queen's Lair and why he's here. He says he can guide them to the spot and they can betray the mercs that Damon made the deal with, and evenly split the profits. Ezra thinks it through fast and says that he'd like to believe him. So, he lifts him up and Damon starts leading them to the Queen's Lair. While Damon has some space, he contacts C quietly, and tells her that when they leave she can take the thrower, propped against the tree. And he tells her to follow them silently and once they're in the open, that C ambushes them and points the thrower at Ezra's friend. When C gets the chance, she does exactly what Damon told her. She comes out and aims the thrower at Ezra's friend. Damon grabs Ezra's weapon and tells his friend to drop the big gun. He tells them to drop their packs, and sit on the log behind them. He starts unpacking their packs, and finds a gem storing box. Damon demands that Ezra opens the box. He puts a gun to his spacesuit helmet. Ezra unlocks the gem box, and Damon found Aurilax inside and smiles at them. Ezra's now furious friend decides to take his gun and proceeds to shoot Damon. They both fall, leaving Ezra and C just looking at each other. While C's reloading the thrower, Ezra takes back his gun and points it at her. Now scared, C just runs away. And then comes Ezra's time to smile. Ezra hears Damon barely breathing. He goes up to him and shoots him twice in the head. We cut to C, coming to now her pod, and she goes inside. She reads the flight manual and starts the pod's engines. Smoke starts behind her and after some checks, she concludes the pod can't be used. She starts surviving in the pod and looks at her timer. If she doesn't reach the station on time, she could be stuck on the moon forever. She hears someone scraping the pod and takes cover while aiming the thrower at the door. Seconds later, Ezra opens the door and comes in. C then rises and shoots him. He grabs the thrower and throws it away. He points his gun at her and says that she gives him a med kit. She comes closer and snatches his gun and now points it at him. C has an offer for him. She says that he leads her to a ship and for that, she won't kill him. She calls herself generous because he killed her father. Ezra says that if she gives him the kit, then they can talk. She gives the kit to him. and he medicates himself and closes his wound. Ezra then asks if her father was telling the truth. He says that the mercs are their only way out. He offers they go to the Queen's lair, collect the gems and kill the mercs and take their ship. C figures that's her only way of reaching the station back again, and so she agrees. But she only agrees to it if she carries his gun, because she can't trust her father's murderer. They once again head to the Queen's lair. On the road, Ezra says that she can't blame him for her father's death. He says that Damon knew what he was going into, and that he knew the risks. We see Ezra's wound protection foam melt. After some hiking, C glazes at her timer, and then, they encounter a Solder. C pulls a gun on it. Ezra says Solder are friendly people, and tells C to lower her weapon and not show any sign of aggression. She does so and the Solder runs away. Ezra says they should follow him because his wound is getting worse. He says that the Solder are scavengers and rely on trade, so he figures he can get medical supplies that he needs. They follow the Solder and he leads them to his home. They greet them and the Sathers tell them to hide their weapons and come back. They hide the weapons, they come back and are welcomed inside. They give Ezra the meds he needs. Ezra now thanks them for their kindness and asks if they have more equipment like filters and other components. He says they're ready to compensate with generosity with equal measure. The little boy brings them everything Ezra asked for, but also, he brings Aurillac gems. Ezra is confused and asks why. The chief Solder says it's for the girl. They recently lost their only woman in the tribe, and the chief thinks that it was destiny that brought them here. That the girl is supposed to stay and help them repopulate. After hearing that, C runs off. She trips and the little Solder attacks her. She unplugs his tubes and starts running again. She runs to the hidden weapons and takes Ezra's gun. She's alone in the forest, and doesn't know what to do. She runs into strange alien life. She starts coughing, her filter is almost done. She looks at the planet the green moon is orbiting, and thinks that all hope is lost. But then, she hears Ezra transmitting a help message on the radio. She manages to locate him in his tent. Inside he asks for her help. He also ran from the Sathers, and didn't get the meds and help he needed. His arm condition has worsened, and he can't take it anymore. He wants her to cut off his arm, as he can't perform the procedure by himself. She decides to help him. He injects himself with anesthetics, and C begins to cut his arm. She cuts the flesh as well as the bone, and Ezra's arm falls off. They rest in the tent a bit, and again rush to the Queen's lair, following the same plan as before. At night, they finally manage to reach the Mercs camp at the Queen's lair. We see that they have a pink man prisoner. Ezra presents himself as C's father Damon, and apologizes for being late. Ezra explains that they'll give up some of the profits if the Mercs can transport them to the station. The Mercs won't do it and say that their transport is not their problem. But Ezra says that he's the gatekeeper to the most treasure they've ever seen. He says if they don't agree to get them to the station, he won't dig. The Mercs have nothing else to do than to agree. Their leader brings them to the Queen's lair. Ezra starts digging. He takes the first alien out. Now, weak-handed, he can't properly cut off the blister and the acid melts it. The leader is suspicious but gives him another shot. The second one doesn't go any better. The Merc leader is very angry. Then, C gives it a shot. She also fails. The leader decides to kill them, but Ezra reacts quickly. He cuts his foot, and shoves his face into the lair, and his face melts. The other Mercs come rushing as they heard the gunshot. Ezra tries to sell that he stumbled getting a closer look. But they see the cut on his foot and figure it out. C instantly throws chemicals into the lair that made it explode. In the smoke, they run off. Ezra shoots one of them. In the forest, they plan out a flank attack at the strongest Merc. C flanks her and while on the floor, the Merc impales Ezra. He then stabs her multiple times. Ezra says that she leaves him to die, and that she saves herself by going to the Merc's ship. She decides to run to the lair to get meds to help him out. A Merc attacks her but, the pink prisoner escaped, and beats the Merc to death. C goes back to Ezra and closes his wound. She helps them both to get onto the ship. They leave the green moon on time and manage to reach the station. C smiles and the movie ends. Thank you for watching this movie recap. Make sure to subscribe and we hope to see you in the next cinema rewatch.